All right, I'm here talking to Jess Fuller, and let me do a little introduction of you, Jess. For those of you that don't know Jess, she is a serial entrepreneur in Albany, New York, who got her start thanks to me, and
Yeah.
now owns multiple yoga studios and other businesses. But even more impressive than that, more impressive than our friendship for almost a decade, is she was my very first nutrition client.
All started with me.
And you know what? It is. It's a cycle. I started using, just to give the quick background of Jess and I. Jess owned a yoga studio called the Hot Yoga Spot. It was a little tiny spot. Imagine doing yoga in your bathroom. Like, that's about how big it was. And I did a class with her. She was teaching it, and I said, "All right, Jess, that was great. You need to quit your job." At the time, she was like bartending and teaching. And I was like, "You need to quit your job and you need to open this yoga studio full time. You need to dive in." Gave me some pushback, but then she did it. And literally 10 years later, we own multiple yoga studios and other businesses.
Yeah, that's right. A CrossFit, also thanks to you.
Speaking of that, you hated CrossFit when I owned them in the area, and now you own one.
I didn't hate them. I didn't understand the beauty behind them like I do now.
I like that. I like that. And if you hear some noise in the background, there's a bar class going on right now?
There's actually one bar class and 2 yoga classes going on right now.
Wow.
So it's a lot going on at the Hot Yoga Spot.
So definitely check out her website, the Hot Yoga Spot, when we're done with this, because it's really impressive what you've done. I am impressed with that. But let's talk a little bit about your nutrition journey. When I met you, you were a vegetarian. You still are, correct?
Yep. Yes.
So I'll let you, actually, I've done enough talking. Tell the people what happened the first time we sat down, right where you're sitting, actually, and talked about it.
Yeah, literally. So basically, Jason had started doing Own Your Eating, macros, counting, all of that, probably a month or so before. His girlfriend at the time, Lindsay, kept telling me all he does now is eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch. He eats 3 bowls a night. He's losing so much weight. She was freaking out about it, about how much Jason was freaking out about it. And she kept telling me all this stuff. I'd been really wanting to lose weight for years. Owning my business, that kind of took the priority, and my health took a backseat. And for years, I was trying to fix my nutrition and trying to lose weight, and I couldn't do it. So Lindsay kept telling me everything about how he was losing all this weight and eating all these foods he never really got to eat before. So one night, Jason came to class at the studio, like he usually did. And after we just started talking, and he said, "Listen, I'm going to give you your numbers. Try it for a week. If you don't like it, don't do it. Stop doing it. And if you like it, you'll do it for the rest of your life." And I was super skeptical, but he right there at that moment made the numbers for me, gave them to me. I went home that night. I already had some nachos in my car or something. So I didn't start that night. I started the next day. And literally the first 2 days I lost 4 pounds. And that was February 3 years ago. And I've done it every single day since. And I remember that first night we were together when he was trying to tell me how it worked and what it was and why I should do it. He said to me, "Science doesn't work for everybody but you. Like, science just works. It is what it is. The numbers are what they are. Your body's not special. You're not special. If you follow the numbers that are right for your body, it's going to work for you." And he was right. And it's literally changed my life. So thank you.
Have I been the biggest influence on your life?
You're like my mother and my father combined.
I'm serious for a moment. I've changed your nutrition. I don't know that you would own your yoga studio had I not walked in that day.
Well, I already owned my yoga studio before you walked in. That's why you had something to walk into. But you definitely, I will say this, and I think I've given you some great advice. And
mostly relationship advice.
Well, because you needed plenty of that before you met Roz. So you needed that in spades. But no, I think, when you were in Albany, especially, we'd get together every month or two and just, you'd bounce ideas off of me. I'd bounce them off you. And I think because we both kind of opened around the same time and both had fitness businesses, even though they were different fitness businesses, you've always been somebody who I looked to as an ally. And I always felt like I was confident that I was an ally to you as well. And as far as nutrition and my physical self goes, I would say far and away have had the biggest impact on my life. So I'm sure that makes your ego very happy.
Well, I appreciate that. But, I want to make clear something that you said. I remember that sitting down, and I remember one thing really cool about you was we looked at your numbers, and all we actually did was change your macros, but it was just about the same amount of food you ate anyway, but you were so dominant in your carbs and fat and lacking in your
Yeah.
protein.
Yeah. As a vegetarian, I was eating like all carbs. And when you did my numbers, I don't think the calories changed at all, or if anything, they went up a little bit. But my protein went way up and my carbs went way down. And before I talked to you, I didn't realize necessarily what macronutrients were. I didn't realize why they were important. So I was just every single day hitting a certain number of calories, and I wasn't losing any weight at all. And I was gaining, I wasn't losing, I was gaining, I wasn't losing. So it wasn't until, we kept the calories the same, but changed the way the macros were spread out, that I started to lose any weight at all. And I lost 60 pounds, and I've had it off for the last, 3 years, with the exception of when I got pregnant. And even then, I very slowly and healthy put on the weight I was supposed to. And within a month of having my son, had lost almost all of it. Now he's almost 2, but I'd say within 3 or 4 months, I was back to my pre-pregnant weight. So I couldn't have been happier with that experience.
Okay, so lots to talk about there. I remember when you first started, you were going to P.F. Chang's a lot.
Yeah.
So you would order something regularly at P.F. Chang's, and all we had to do was basically say, hey, keep going there, but you got to get this instead.
Yeah. I still was able to order the same thing. I used to get the vegetarian lettuce wraps. I was actually able to keep getting those, but on the days I got those, I would just have something different for breakfast and lunch. You know what I mean? It's something that was lower in fat and mostly carbs and protein, because that's like almost entirely fat. So I was even able to keep eating the same foods I was used to eating and I enjoyed eating, but for other meals, I would eat differently. And that was the thing I didn't realize before I started macros. If there was a day when I knew I was going to be bad at night, or I had a huge, disgusting breakfast, I was like, okay, today's a wash. And I would just like be crazy all day. Whereas after macros, the biggest change was, okay, I have a wedding tonight. I'm going to be like a monster tonight. So I'm going to be super great all day to balance it out. So I'll have eggs, I'll have low fat cheese sticks, whatever, to get my protein in early, so I can have fats and carbs at night. That was something I never realized before I started. I would just have a bad day or a good day, whereas now every day could be good. You just have to plan for it.
Right. Even eating foods that you would be like, oh, this is a terrible day. Now you're like, hey, I can eat these foods. I just have to be a little smarter the rest of the day.
Right. A little more mindful. Right.
So before we get into, the fact that you lost 60 pounds, which in and of itself is incredible. You're actually lighter now than you were pre-pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty much where I was pre-pregnancy, maybe 5 pounds lighter, but that's also, I gave birth to a 10-pound baby. I'm 6 foot tall, and I'm exactly what I should weigh, and I'm like the same that I was in college. All my jeans are still my high school and college jeans. Like, I wear all my old clothes, and a lot of times they're big on me, and I, don't wear any of the clothes from when I was heavier. They're huge. So yeah, definitely it's been amazing. And it's been 3 years. It's not like it's a fad and it's, maybe I'll keep it off, maybe I won't. Like, it's definitely entrenched in my way of life.
Jess, you own 9 businesses. You can buy some new clothes.
I don't have the time to shop. That's my problem.
You need to hire a personal shopper at this point.
That's what I do. That's a great idea.
You need to throw out those old clothes. You're never gaining weight again.
No, never.
So
thanks to you.
Tell me about this. A lot of people, think it's very challenging as a vegetarian to hit their protein. What's your protein number right now?
My protein is 135.
So 135, and first of all, you're not obviously heavy, but you're tall. So that protein number is higher than most women would start at. That's almost what I take in, just because you weigh a little.
Oh, really?
More.
That's interesting.
Well, because you're tall. Yeah. You weigh more. So
I'm 6 foot tall, yeah.
How hard was it as a vegetarian to hit that protein, especially in the beginning?
Yeah, it was surprisingly not hard at all. Once I knew protein was important, I was able to hit it within like a day or two. My go-tos are eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. I do low-fat cheese sticks, beans, tofu. The vegetarian and vegan products usually have a good amount of protein in them. So just staples like that. And I know what my protein foods are. And I pretty much just eat them all the day because it's easy and I'm lazy. I could be, more diverse in what I eat, but I just don't care. And I would rather do what's easy and I'm used to, and I know what works. But yeah, I found my protein go-tos that were high in those and lower in the other macronutrients. And I just eat them all the time. And it works out well for me because I'm one of those people that wants a lot of food and I want to make sure I get my junk food every day. So instead of eating like one robust meal that has all the macros, I'll try to eat like just eggs for a meal that's all protein and fat if I have the yellows. And then that way later in the day, I can have cookies, I can have ice cream, I can have nachos because I've saved room for it. So, because I could never live without those things.
So for those listening, you just mentioned a bunch of, easy to get protein snacks for vegetarians. Of course, you're more of a non-meat eater, you would say, right? Some vegetarians don't eat eggs or cottage cheese, etc. But if
if you're vegan, so vegetarians can eat those things I listed. If you're vegan, then you obviously wouldn't have the animal products. So you wouldn't have egg, you wouldn't have the dairy, but even like all of the vegetarian substitutes, like if you have a veggie burger or veggie cold cuts, those are all vegan. So anybody can eat those, and they're usually made of tofu or whey or something like that. And they're super high in protein. And then of course, just natural sources of protein like beans and quinoa, stuff like that is vegan and vegetarian friendly.
Right. So you're saying if you want to make it happen, it's not that hard.
No, and protein shakes. I mean, there's so many protein shakes these days. A lot of them are very high in protein and very low in carb and fat. And a lot of them are not only vegetarian, but vegan as well. So that's a go-to delicious way to get protein when you need it.
So how long did it take you when you started to get to where you wanted to be with that 60-pound loss?
I'd already lost a little before I started macros, just because I'd spent a good year and a half probably trying to lose weight for my wedding that was coming up, and it was very slow going, but I had lost a little bit. And then I started with macros in February 3 years ago, and I'd say by probably within 3 or 4 months, I'd lost probably, let's say 20 to 30 pounds. And I'd say within 6 months, got to the weight kind of where I am now.
Yeah, I remember we started and I moved a few months later and you were already substantially lighter.
Oh yeah, I'd already lost a lot. Yeah. Yeah, because I started in February. You moved in April, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd lost at least 15 or 20 pounds by then for sure.
So now let's talk a little bit about pregnancy. How was that with your macros?
It was amazing, honestly. And I'm probably terrible for saying this and having thought it, but I'm one of those people that kind of spent my whole life thinking like, you, as a woman, you look good until you get pregnant, and then you get pregnant and have a baby and you just don't really look that great afterwards. I always thought that was the norm. And obviously you see people that have a baby that look amazing after and don't look like they had kids, but I just, I was heavier to start. So I didn't imagine, I thought I'm going to have a baby and I'll just be heavier after, and it is what it is. And I never imagined ever in a million years that I'd be able to get pregnant, have a very healthy pregnancy, give birth to a very plump baby who's 10 pounds, and that I'd be able to wear all of my regular clothes within a month or two of having him. And all the weight I gained throughout my pregnancy, I started off in a healthy range. I was supposed to gain 30 to 40 pounds for my height and for the size of the baby. That's exactly what I gained. I gained it slowly. I didn't gain most of it till last trimester. And then as soon as I had him within the first month, I'd probably lost 80% of it. Because it wasn't fat, it was my body kind of accumulating for the pregnancy. Because I'd been able to eat so well, it wasn't this excess amount of weight that I shouldn't have had. So it was so easy to lose it after. I almost feel bad saying it because I know people struggle so much with it, but it was so much easier than I ever could have. There's not even words to describe how much easier it was than I expected it to be.
So basically you're saying what you're really saying is everyone should track macros, but especially you've had a baby and you want to lose that weight, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, if you've had a baby, if you just gained weight because of stress, or you gained weight because you stopped prioritizing your health, which is how I gained it in the first place. I wasn't always heavy. I was very thin and very in shape for most of my life. And it wasn't until I opened the studio that I gained all my weight, because I stopped working out. I was at the studio all the time. Plus I had 2 other jobs. I didn't know what I should be eating, so I wasn't eating the right stuff. So I gained a lot of weight in a few years and then couldn't lose it for a few years. So it's not like I was always heavy, but regardless of why you gain weight, macros can help you lose it. I'm very confident of that.
I love it. So what's your goal now? You've lost the weight. You've not only kept it off, you've gone through a pregnancy. You're back down lower than you were pre-pregnancy. You look great. Now what?
Now I'm going to Disneyland. No, just kidding. That's what you have to say, right? No, now my goal is to just keep doing what I'm doing. I feel like I've gotten to a really comfortable place with my numbers where I feel like every single day I can pretty much eat whatever I want, and the scale is the same the next day. I could be a little tighter with my numbers probably, and regulate them a little bit more and maybe weigh a little bit less, but I'm so comfortable with my body and so confident in the way that I eat and the way that I feel. And I'm just very happy with that balance. And I feel like the nicest thing about macros is the fact that, like, if I want to go away for a weekend and even not be super mindful, you know what I mean? Just go away for a weekend, or it's a holiday or something like that, and it's not going to be pretty what I eat. You know what I mean? It's going to be a nightmare. I have the fullest faith that if I get back and I track my macros religiously for 3 or 4 days, I'll be at that pre-vacation or pre-crazy weekend or whatever weight within literally 3 or 4 days. So it takes all the guilt out of it and all the worry out of it. And you can really just go on your vacation or go to the wedding or, you know, celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever you're doing. And now I can have fun. If I gain 2 or 3 pounds more in a week, I will lose it all within 2 or 3 days of just being really tight with the macros. So it's taken all the guilt out of it for me and just gives me the confidence to really enjoy a night out or really enjoy a holiday weekend or that type of thing.
Well, so that's great. And it sounds to me, and, you know, speak on this for a moment, it's less stressful for you to actually be tracking macros than it would be to stop and not track macros anymore. In other words, some people say, well, am I going to have to do this forever? And
for sure. Yeah.
So you would rather track and know that, hey, like, it sounds like you, while you're diligent and while you're consistent, you're also not crazy about it.
Right, because here's the thing, like, is it easier to track numbers or is it easier to not track them? It's easier to not track them, but is it easier to be fit and to feel good, or is it easier to not be fit and to not feel good? You know? So yes, it takes slightly more work to track numbers than it does to not track them, but I also would rather be able to eat the foods that I like and know that I'm going to not weigh more the next day or the next week. And on top of that, once you've tracked them, I mean, I still plug them in every single day to my fitness pal because I'm a creature of habit, and I'll probably do it to the day I die. But once you know what your go-tos are and what your meals are, like, I could tell you every single day, the cheese stick has this many protein, this many fat, the eggs have this many, the yogurt has this many, the nachos have that many. So it becomes like tracking it, you know, the first few weeks takes a good amount of time to play with the numbers and get them just right. But after that, when you know what your foods are and you know what you like and you know how the numbers play out, it takes like 30 seconds. So it might take a while at first, but long term, it's not a big commitment and it's not a lot of work, because you'll know very quickly, these numbers work for me. When I eat these foods, I lose weight. When I eat these foods, I don't. So doing your macros every day or every night in advance of the next day becomes very quick and very easy.
Someone listening to this will say, sure, that's great after 3.5 years. How long do you think it took you to get to that point?
2 or 3 weeks. But in all fairness, I am a creature of habit. So the same cheese sticks and Greek yogurt and eggs and everything else that I eat now is what I started eating 3 years ago when I started. And I like them. They taste good. They have enough, you know, yogurt flavors for variety and whatnot. So it's probably easier than me than it would be for some people, just because I have no problem eating the same types of foods all the time. And I don't cook a ton, that type of thing. If you're cooking a different meal every night, it's going to be a little more work for sure. If you're eating out at a different place every night, that's going to be a little bit more work for sure. So it's probably slightly easier for me just because I could eat the same food every single day for the rest of my life. As long as it's delicious, I'm fine with it. So it would probably be slightly more work for some than it is for me, but I still think I don't think it would take 3 years to figure it out. I think it would be, you know, if you just commit yourself to it for a few weeks, you'd get there.
Well, and I think most people, whether they realize it or not, eat the same foods very regularly. Sure, dinner may change a couple nights a week, but most people wake up and have the same breakfast, similar lunches, and even similar dinners that maybe rotate. You know, we have tacos on Tuesday, but you do that 52 weeks of a year, so it becomes much easier to think. That's
and my fitness pal is so easy. You can put the meal in there and then you can hit that meal every Tuesday when you have your tacos. You don't have to re-enter it all the time. You save it once and then it's in there forever. So it is easy.
What's been the impact at your yoga studios, at the CrossFits, in the Fuller household since you've been tracking?
I mean, I think Me personally, it was always hard for me to own a fitness business, even though it's a yoga studio. It's still a form of fitness. And yoga, we always preach to accept yourself and accept your body, and those are very important things. And I would encourage everybody to do that. But obviously, as the face of a fitness business, it was always discouraging for me and maybe a little bit uncomfortable that I was overweight. It made it hard for me to be comfortable speaking about the studio on the news or putting my face on a billboard for it or on the website for it, just knowing I was overweight and it is a fitness type business. So I'd say personally and professionally, that's gotten so much easier. I was on the news earlier today for a fundraiser we have coming up at CrossFit for the People, and I could not have been more comfortable, wearing my workout clothes and talking about the event. And I think that's definitely something that a few years ago, before I started counting my macros and I was heavier, would have been very uncomfortable for me.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really why everyone should do it. I think at the end of the day, you're right. What you preach at yoga or anywhere should be love yourself and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to be happy with what you see in the mirror.
Right. And at the end of the day, you should love yourself, but you also want to live a long life and you have to be healthy to do that. And I wasn't the most unhealthy before. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. That's a decent amount of weight. So forgetting about loving yourself or not, being the healthiest person you can be is super important. If you have kids, if you have family, if you have a life that you love, if you travel, whatever it is that you live for, you want to live a long time. So regardless of how you feel about yourself or any of that, you owe it to yourself to be as healthy as you can with the time that you have.
I love it, Jess. You've said it all. You've said everything that someone needs to hear about macros to motivate them. I mean, to sum it up, you were skeptical. You were a vegetarian, so you had some strikes against you as far as making it easier. I think being a vegetarian is great, but it does pose different challenges. And then immediately you've lost weight.
Because Yeah, I have friends who are not vegetarians who do this, and they eat like chicken and turkey all the time. And then they have like 1 million grams of protein or of fat and carbs at the end of the day. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It takes me a lot more time to get to that protein than it does them. But at the end of the day, it's still as easy. It's easier for them, but it's still as easy for me. And I get to hold on to my principles with vegetarianism, which is very important to me.
That's awesome. And, beyond that, you're lighter than you were pre-pregnancy, which I think is something that shouldn't go unnoticed. You've had a very healthy baby, who's, and let's be clear, 10 pounds. That's a big baby.
I'm 6 foot. He was 10 pounds. This wasn't like, he was a big baby. He was full term. It was, and I only gained just under 40 pounds. He came out 10 pounds. So, figure less than 30 pounds is what I gained during the pregnancy.
Is there
and a lot of that's water weight and all the other gross stuff that I won't go into, but
is there another Fuller coming out?
Pregnancy? And not at the moment. I'm sure there will be in the future, but there's not one in the making at this moment. That's for sure.
Maybe later today. So
maybe tonight's the night.
Speaking
Fuller
of,
hopes it is.
has Fuller ever? We call Fuller Jess's husband Fuller, even though that's his last name, not to be confusing. So,
Correct.
Is there any desire on his end to track his macros?
I've tried a few times. He's pretty comfortable with the way he is. So I've tried a few times just because I love it so much. I try to get everybody I know to do it. So I think he's great. He doesn't have to change anything for me. He's comfortable with who he is, so it's fine. I've tried to get him to do it just because I've tried to get everybody I know to do it, because I fully believe if every single person in the world tracked their macros and could just eat whatever they wanted and be healthy and look good, there'd be like no war. Everybody would be happy. So I think everybody should do it. So I've tried to get him to do it a few times. He hasn't taken the bait yet, but I have had like other family members try it. His sister, Sue, my sister-in-law, she was at the event that you did at the studio last summer. I got her on it. She's lost like 30 or 40 pounds maybe, and she looks amazing. She feels amazing. So her sisters, my other sister-in-laws, have all started doing it, and they're trying to figure out what their numbers are. So yeah, a few people have started doing it because of me, but not my husband.
Don't push your husband to do anything he doesn't want to.
No.
But I love it. Macros can cure and prevent war. So I think that's
You heard it here, folks.
great way to end it. Jess, I'm proud of you for tracking your macros, proud of you for owning all of your businesses, and I'm proud of myself for being responsible for all of that. And
I'm forever grateful to you for giving me macros. And I'm always so happy to think that I'm your first client, because look at you now with all these clients and doing all these amazing things. But you have 100% changed my life and changed the way that I feel about food and think about food for the rest of my life. I can say without a doubt.
well, I'm going to end it on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.